But I started drinking when I was 14 years of age in a great little pub in Corsham called the Duke of Cumberland. It's closed down now, like the rest of them.
My drinking's actually been a part of my life for 16 years. It started when I was 21, just when I was in my last year of university. And it pretty much started overnight.
It started with snippets throughout my life of realisations that I drank differently to other people, ending very chaotically, very dark days, and I had to get to that point.
I come into addiction as a 13-year-old boy, you know what I mean? And I come out of addiction a 41-year-old teenager, you know what I mean? Because when addiction gets a grip of you, it sort of stops your life.
I remember when I first started, I was drunk on a pint of cider. Drunk. In the end, my life got to 2 bottles of vodka a day, a bottle in the morning, bottle in the afternoon, and down the pub at nights to get drunk.
Didn't have a terrible childhood, had a lovely childhood. Nothing awful happened to me, you know. I was sort of a head girl at school. I was the last person you would ever think would be an alcoholic.
You know, I thought an addict was somebody who woke up and they needed drugs or drink straight away. Like first thing in the morning, I thought an addict was somebody who had no teeth and you know, and the health was obviously deteriorated. I didn't really know what I expected an addict to be, you know, so I never actually associated myself with addiction.
If you're a functioning alcoholic, like I was for a long, long time, you don't know that you're doing anything wrong.
I was just in the grip of addiction that was so entrenched and so deep and so strong that even the love of my children wasn't enough for me to stop drinking.
Because I put one drink or drug inside me and it triggers the craving for more and more and more and more and more, and I can't stop.
In my heyday of drinking, I didn't care if I had friends or as long as I had my bottle. That was my friend, you know. It just takes over. It becomes your master.
At any point I could have just gone, do you know what, my default setting is to medicate that unease, disease with a drink. And there were so many moments in the last 9 years that I could have done that so easily, because I think once you've learnt that that fixes things, it's really hard to unlearn it.
The tradition was then, do your work by Friday lunchtime, you skinned off to the boozer. And it wasn't just me, it was the whole pub the whole site went down there then, you know. Well, I was 16 years old.
Just before I got into recovery this time, my parents had thrown me out. I'd been living with them. Can't blame them, I was just chaotic. I've been arrested a lot for shoplifting because I couldn't afford to buy wine anymore, so I used to steal it because the need for it would just overrode everything.
But all I knew was that I needed to change the way I feel all the time. So that's how I know that I'm an addict, because I always had to have one substance or other inside me to change the way I feel.
But because I worked, and I was a hard grafter, you know, it just seemed so natural spending all your wages on alcohol.
I've made numerous attempts to try and stop drinking. I've been in a detox, I've been medically detoxed 5 times. And every time I got out of detox, I had great plans not to drink again, every intention not to, but every time I went back to it.
When I was in the grips of addiction, my mood plummeted quite rapidly.
I couldn't go an hour without having a drink. I literally woke up in the morning, well, came to in the morning. The first thing I would do if I had a drink, I'd drink a pint of wine straight down, try and keep it down, because I think my body didn't want it. My brain desperately wanted it, my body did not want it. So I'd spend 10 minutes trying to keep it down, and then I would panic because I didn't know where the next one was coming from. So then I'd have to plan where I was going to steal it from, go and do that, bring it back, take the first drink from that, and then as soon as I'd had the first drink, I'd have about 5 minutes of sort of vague peace, And then I'd start panicking about where the next one was going to come. Even though there was 3/4 of the bottle left, I was thinking, where's the next 1, 2, 3?
Every day seemed dark. There was absolutely no reason to get up in the morning that I could see. And my children were taken away, they weren't with me, and I had to really fight hard to get them back.
I couldn't walk in the streets because the crack cocaine took over my life. You know what I mean? It made me rob off people who I love. You know what I mean? Nothing come before my crack cocaine. You know what I mean? And that's when the mental illness started.
And the cocaine habit got so bad, it got up to over £1,000 a week, every week.
For me, it was over the space of a couple of years was my proper decline into this deep depression, and it was postnatal depression as well.
7 years ago, before I went into treatment, Action on Addiction come into my life. I was a wreck of a man. You know what I mean? I was a wreck of a man. I was looking at the floor all the time, wanting to die all the time. You know what I mean? And my kids were like getting bullied because the dad was classed as a smackhead.
I was determined I could do this on my own. I thought I've got lots of willpower, so I must be able to, I'm intelligent. I thought I could think my way out of addiction or plan my way out of it, and it just doesn't work. I tried ridiculous strategies. I tried to moderate my drinking. I even tried at one stage, this is the most ridiculous thing, I wouldn't drink in the week. I'd have a bottle of wine on a Saturday night, I'd drink it in like 5 minutes, and then I'd make myself sick. Because somehow I thought I was getting around it somehow. It shows how crazy my thinking was. I thought that was a clever thing to do.
So when I left treatment and the children had gone and I went home to this house with an empty cot and empty children's rooms, and it was just devastating, doesn't even come close. I did not know how to live without softening the blow by drinking or numbing myself, numbing the pain, the emotional pain of it.
I've been to the gates of hell. I've looked at them and I didn't like it, and I've come back. You know what I mean? I've come back from the gates of hell. All the insanity and things like that, you know what I mean? The paranoia, the mental problems and all that, you know what I mean? I've got wanting to die and all that, you know what I mean? Not wanting to wake up. Praying to God that I wouldn't wake up.
I think that it scared me that I thought if I really wanted to end my life, I could. And I didn't want to. What I wanted was to not feel the way I felt.
And yet I remember that fear right inside me, thinking if you don't do something and really go for it, you're going to die.
I've done the crack houses, I've done the couch surfing, I've done the homelessness, I've done all that in my addiction, you know what I mean? And I'm living proof today that you can get out at the end of it. There is light at the end of the tunnel.
I didn't want to be the people that you walk past in the street, even though I was just as bad as them. The only difference was I had somewhere to sleep. But I didn't want to keep going further down because I could just see what was going to happen. And I didn't want to be like that. I wanted to have a life.
If someone had told me back then that I would achieve everything I've achieved with help from others, I'm not taking all of this credit at all. I could not do this by myself. But if someone had told me back then, I'd have said, no chance.
Being able to reach out to other people, being able to reach out to other addicts. Yeah, the most helpful thing is knowing that you're not on your own.
Can't stop talking. You know what I mean? Before I come into recovery, I couldn't talk. I couldn't talk. You know what I mean? It was like, don't talk to me, I don't want to know you. Don't look at me because I'm paranoid. You know what I mean? And I'm mental, or I thought it was mental.
It's easier starting an addiction than it is getting off it.
Now I'm putting the hard work in, it's really paying off because, you know, now I'm getting places and I feel most days, you know, I'm on a spiritual high.
The bravest thing I ever did was ask for help. And the people I have around me now, I have such a network of people who are there to support me. And it's fantastic. If I'm having a bad day, I've got loads of people I can call. If my mood is off, and even if I don't know why, pick up the phone and it goes. So that's been a huge thing for me. You don't have to do it on your own.